Let me know if you can hear me now through the mic. All right, perfect. So, yeah, it took me a minute to get this running. First time doing the live, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning process for the first month for sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first and foremost run through what I've seen this month, an absolute packed schedule this month with London Film Festival, loads of other stuff that has been going on. So I will go through Letterboxd first, talk a bit about each film that I watched, and just a little rundown of what rating I gave it. Then what I will do is open it up to questions in the chat. If anyone has anything they want to ask me, go ahead and ask in the chat. In fact, what I will do, seeing as it's just going to be boring me speaking about everything I've seen running constantly. So if you have any questions, do it in the chat and I'll answer them as we're going doing the letterbox kind of rundown. And then what I will do at the end is give a general kind of idea of what I've been up to recently and what the plan is going to be for the next couple of months with the YouTube channel, the podcast stuff, and just general stuff with myself. So at any time, if there's anything going wrong with the stream, just let me know. In the no, Unwelcome is not the best movie of the year. It's in fact currently my least favorite of the year. But on the video chat, if I do another one of these for December, that will do that. But let's get to the films that I watched in the month of October. So the first film I actually watched was from the film festival, and it was Memory, which is a film starring Peter Skarsgård and Jessica Chastain. A pre-festival films that wasn't too packed at the film festival. It was just kind of getting into the vibes of everything. And that film I gave a no. What am I talking about? I'm absolutely waffling. The first film I seen was Hitman, a film which stars what's his name again? Glenn Powell, and directed by Richard Linklater. That I gave 4.5 stars. That film was absolutely hilarious. I believe it's coming out on Netflix. When it comes out, everyone definitely needs to check it out. It is an absolute banger. It's hilarious. The performance of Glenn Powell is brilliant. The script is amazing. And that was a pre-festival film. And that was the only pre-festival film that I watched. The second film, or the first festival film that I watched, was Memory, which stars Peter Skarsgård and my favorite actress, the beautiful Jessica Chastain. That I gave a 4 star. And then the next film I watched was also at the London Film Festival. Most of these are film festival films. It was Emerald Fennell Saltburn, again, another 4 star film. Memory, I haven't put out a review for yet, but there is a review currently live on my YouTube channel for Saltburn and also on the Cinematique website as well. But no, Memory was a brilliant film. I really love Jessica Chastain's performance. I believe Peter Skarsgård won an award in one of the film festivals for Best Actor. He was decent in the film, but look, I don't think he was kind of that award level kind of performance. But Jessica Chastain for me was the best part of that film for sure. And then Saltburn, Emerald Fennell, I thought it was a decent film throughout. Visually, look, the architecture that was on show from the Saltburn estate and also from Oxford University was just unbelievably nice. So it just made everything so easy for the cinematographer. The wide angle shots that they had looked beautiful. Jacob Elordi, Jesus Christ, I didn't know that geezer was Australian. I thought he was American. His posh British accent here is spot on, as is all the other people that are involved in the film. I thought the actual posh accents in Saltburn were unbelievably good. Barry Keoghan, who stars in the film, is decent enough in the film. I think he's really solid, but his Liverpudlian accent, the Scouse accent, just went a little bit too in and out for me. It wasn't as good as it could have been, and that's why I think he probably won't be up for awards. But what is going on to everyone else who's just joined in the chat? Geekly Goods, what is happening, mate? Lovely to see you. Yeah, so they're the first two that I seen at the film festival. I'm talking about Saltburn at the moment. And I was just talking about Memory. So Memory, Saltburn, and Hitman are the first three films I seen in October at the London Film Festival. The favorite movie of October will be spoken about in this chat, but is currently Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet, sorry, and stars Sandra Hüller. What a film that is! What a film that is! Due to be bringing out a discussion on my YouTube channel with firstshowing.net where we talk about did she or didn't she? Did she kill her husband or did she not kill her husband? So that is definitely something I'm looking forward to, and a review will be out on the YouTube channel as well in the upcoming days as well. So Hitman, Memory, and Saltburn were the first three films at the film festival. Started off super strong, and I'll be honest, the film festival as a whole didn't have many duds, but there are a couple that were trash, and of course, I'm going to let you know which ones they are. But there weren't many really bad films at the festival, which was fantastic. And yeah, you're correct. It was definitely much better than the Timothy Oliphant Hitman for sure. It was a much better movie than that hilarious movie Hitman. Everyone should go check it out. Comes out on Netflix as well, so it's going to be a good one for people to check out. I do think it should be a cinema film. So if it does have a limited release in the cinemas, go check it out for sure, because it definitely is a vibe in the cinema. There's a few laugh out loud lines that kind of everyone seems to be digging in the cinema, and everyone was kind of cracking up in unison. So anytime you can watch a comedy in the cinema, and horror, I think horror, blockbusters, and comedy work best in the cinemas because you kind of get everybody else's energy around you, right? So comedy is definitely good in the cinema. The next couple of films I watched at the London Film Festival had a double header of The Bike Riders, the Jeff Nichols film starring, who was in that again? Tom Hardy was in that. Austin Butler was in there looking super gorgeous and just making a shambles of every other man that was on show in the film. Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer, a really good visual film, a kind of look into the biker gangs in the 60s, and kind of shows kind of what went into the biker gangs kind of were turning into gangs, more kind of drug related crimes and that kind of stuff. So The Bike Riders was a decent film for sure. Not my favorite at the festival. I gave that a 3.5 star. And then I watched David Fincher's The Killer. Uh, Look, Fincher is one of my favorite filmmakers. So I went into The Killer buzzing to see that film. And I'm going to be honest, it didn't live up to my expectations. Visually, it's brilliant. Fincher's direction, perfect. Fassbender, awesome in the role. I thought he was casted to perfection, but it was just missing something for me. And I know it's crazy to say, but it could have been a bit more violent. And there was a few story character beats that in the end just didn't kind of add up to me. And that is kind of why I wasn't as high on it as other people. But don't get me wrong, there was a bunch of people coming out of that film talking about top tier Fincher. So even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it, I still gave it a 6 out of 10. Definitely more people seem to enjoy the film a lot more than I did. But yeah, definitely go check out. Look, it's Fincher, right? You got to check out the latest Fincher when it comes out. That's just the story. Yes, Austin Butler is one of those people who is annoyingly good looking. And yeah, enough will be said about that guy. I think he's one of the next movie stars. And I really do think he has that gravitas behind him to be one of the next big actors, Austin Butler, as long as he picks his roles perfectly, right? A lot of these actors, they kind of have a good start, good few roles. Paul Mescal started off really well, had a few brilliant roles. His last couple haven't been up to scratch, in my opinion. But when you're starting off in the industry and you start getting that Hollywood love and they start throwing projects at you left, right, and center, you're going to have a few duds. And it's just about um, working your way away from those duds and try and get the hits. Chelsea will not be going out the cup tonight. We are going to beat Blackburn 100%. I'm extremely confident about that. The next film I watched at London Film Festival was probably one of my top three most anticipated going in, and it was Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. What a film that is! What a film! It was really really good, but the ending just hit for me. The ending hit. It was just such an emotional and such a brilliance from Martin Scorsese there. Lily Gladstone definitely going to get an Academy Award nomination for a performance. Lead actress as well. I don't like any of this shenanigans about her being a supporting actress. She's 100% the female lead in that film. And she's one of the best performances of the year. I would say that three of my top four performances this year are the ladies, and I will touch base on every single one of those because every single one of those I have seen over the past few weeks in the month of October. Killers of the Flower Moon, is it too long? No, I had no problem with the 3 hour runtime. I thought Thelma Shoemaker's editing was perfection. The film had a really good flow to it. I do feel like a lot of the negativity towards the runtime post the film was a lot of people building up the runtime in their heads. I don't think it's a really long film. Drive My Car, which I watched 2021, that felt like a brilliant film, but it felt long. You could feel the runtime. Whereas Killers of the Flower Moon, I didn't really feel the runtime at all, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was magnificent. Scorsese, man. I thinking about a time where Martin Scorsese is not making films is not good. It's not a good look, and it's only age, man. It's nothing to do with skill because Killers of the Flower Moon shows that so well. And yeah, if it's well laid out, 100%, it doesn't matter about the runtime. When 2021, Petite Maman was 83 minutes, I believe, and Drive My Car was like 3 hours. Both of those 5-star films, in my opinion. So it doesn't really matter. Scorsese has a couple of okay films, but predominantly 4 stars and above for Scorsese. Definitely on my Mount Rushmore when it comes to filmmakers, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Then I watched a film which I didn't know much about going in. It was Wim Wenders' Perfect Days, and let me get the actor's name because I thought he was brilliant in the film. And the film it's such a Koji Yakusu. He is the lead actor in the film, and he's one of my top four performances of the year. The Sight and Sound list that came out last year and had Jean Doman as the number one film. Perfect Days is a similar vibe to that in the fact that nothing really happens in the film. It's just about someone's day to day life, but the character is just so loving and you're just engrossed. And the soundtrack, man, wow. One thing I will say from London Film Festival is the soundtracks were so sick. The soundtracks were on fire, and it was one of my highlights of the festival. Bopping my head throughout the festival, and with Perfect Days, that was definitely one of those films. And Koji is the person that I would give Best Actor to at the Academy Awards, but I doubt that is going to happen. It looks like it's going to be a battle between Bradley Cooper and Cillian Murphy. Let me know in the chat who you think the Best Actor award should go to for sure. And yes, Geekly Goods, I agree, mate. Stop asking Scorsese about Marvel. Let's ask him about DC. Let's find out what he thinks about James Gunn. I'm only joking, but let's get away from that. The next film I watched at the London Film Festival was The Boy and the Heron. How Do I Live was the Japanese title, and I think that it's a much better title than The Boy and the Heron. That heron gave me nightmares, mate. Honestly, he gave me nightmares. Hayao Miyazaki is a legend. Studio Ghibli, I love their films. There's something about their films where you can watch them at different stages in your life and they just hit for different reasons. No matter what age you are, you could be a young kid, 8, 9 years of age. You could be a teenager, 33 years of age, like myself. Those films hit differently for different people. Of course, The Boy and the Heron had masterful animation. It had a lot of heart. It had the humor. It had the horror that you get with a lot of these Studio Ghibli films. I could see correlations between some of the characters and Hayao Miyazaki himself. And yeah, I thought it was a really good, solid film. It's not that top echelons of Studio Ghibli. It's not one of their best films, but it's 4 stars. It's a 4-star film. I just think when I go into those Ghibli films, I just automatically expect perfection, right? And anytime you don't get perfection, you're kind of a little bit negative towards it. But The Boy and the Heron is certainly a brilliant film, and everyone should check it out when it comes out. I know everyone's big fans of Studio Ghibli, even though during the festival there was a few people that said it was their first Ghibli film. And I think if this is your entry into the Ghibli films, you could feel a little bit cold on it because there are certain aspects which don't hit as hard as the other films do. Let me know in the chat what your favorite Studio Ghibli film is because everyone has a different answer for this. I'd be very intrigued to know. Mine's Princess Mononoke. I absolutely love that film. Then the next film I watched at the London Film Festival was the surprise film. The surprise film. The surprise film at London Film Festival is always this big thing. Everyone always has these wild ideas about what the film could be. And I'll be honest, most of the options that were thrown out, Rustin, American Fiction, I had no real clue about what they were. The one film I wanted it to be was Michael Mann's Ferrari. And it ended up being Michael Mann's Ferrari. And to say this was by far the biggest disappointment of the festival for me would be an understatement, an absolute understatement. Penelope Cruz is the only shining light in that film, and the car race in itself looks kind of cool. Why they keep casting, look, I love Adam Driver, brilliant actor, but stop casting that man to play Italians. I just do not get it. I do not get it at all. The story was all over the place. Didn't really learn much about Ferrari at all. I don't really know what the film was for. Yeah, biggest annoyance of the festival for sure was Ferrari. 2.5 stars I gave that, and that's a low rating for me. Unless something is super trash, it's not going to get normally less than kind of that mid kind of rating. But Aaron, mate, I've got some bad films I've seen this year, so Ferrari isn't my least favorite. I will let you know what my least favorite is at the end, and if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know what that is. It's an atrocious film. Okay, so then I watched. See, the next film I seen at the film festival is one which is getting a lot of love right now, right? And I can understand why it's getting the love. It is Maestro, directed by Bradley Cooper. And look, this film was geared up towards Oscars. It was 100% a film which was geared toward winning awards. Geared towards winning awards. Jesus Christ, catching myself out. But Bradley Cooper's direction is brilliant here. Is it anywhere near as good as A Star Is Born? No. A Star Is Born is fantastic. And this is where the comedy comes in. If he ends up winning for this performance when he lost to that performance, it'll be very ironic because the performance is a little bit hammy for me. It is a little bit hammy. I don't know anything about Leonard Bernstein, so I can't really speak on it too much. But Carey Mulligan, though, yes, she should be getting an Oscar nom as well. And again, should be lead actress. Should 100% be lead actress. She eats him alive in every single scene. Apart from one. There's one scene in the film which is set in an orchestra. And that scene there is Bradley Cooper's. If he does get nominated, that scene will be shown as his Oscar clip because that is where he is at his best. And honestly, that scene is perfection. For a film that I didn't love, I adored that scene. That is a perfection scene in a film. And it's probably one of my favorite scenes of the year. Considering I'm not that high on the film, gave it a 3-star out of 5. It's crazy to think. It is crazy to think. Bradley seems to be getting a lot of love right now on the award circuit, but for me, Cillian Murphy would be beating him. But then again, Koji for Perfect Days is my pick. All right. Okay. So the next film I watched is, for me, the weakest of London Film Festival and the weakest of one of the weakest of the year, and it is Foe, starring Paul Mescal and Saoirse Ronan. I didn't think a film with Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal could be this bad, but this film is atrocious. You're asking about Killers of the Flower Moon feeling long. This film felt long, and it was like an hour and a half. It literally, they honestly was feeding everything to the audience like we're a bunch of 5-year-olds. The film ended like 8 times to explain the exact same point. It was absolutely driving me insane. I did not know what was going on, and honestly, by far the worst film of the festival by a stretch as well. One of the worst films I've seen all year, and one of the worst films I've seen over the last couple of years. This year's had some brilliant films, but the bad ones have been bad. Real bad. And yeah, Saoirse Ronan, she is way better than that. Way better than that. And honestly, they weren't bad in the film for what they were given, because they weren't given much, honestly. Was not given much. I didn't want to talk about that film. That's how much it pissed me off, if I'm being perfectly honest. Um, let's talk about my favorite film of the film festival, and until last week, my favorite film of the year. A film which I have a review out for on the cinematique.com. A film that I will have a review out on YouTube shortly. It is John Glazer's The Zone of Interest. This film, oh my God. The sound design and the cinematography are unbelievable. Sandra Hüller, she should become the first actress, first actor, actress, whatever you want to call it, first performer on screen to win 2 Oscars in the same year. Her performance here, I wanted to strangle the woman by the end of the film. That's how good of a performance she put on in a villain role. Honestly, by the end of the film, I wanted to strangle her. And this film had probably the best sense of juxtaposition that I've ever seen in a film, if I'm being perfectly honest. The sound design, wow. Wow. Oh my God. Honestly, that should be nailed on to win the Oscar. And I know there's a few kind of cinematic films this year, but man, that film, man, that hit me hard. I came out of there and I was like, I've just watched one of the best films I've ever seen. But I also felt like I never wanted to watch the film again. It was honestly just such an impactful film. Crazy, crazy. And look, I'll get to Sandra Hüller in a minute, because that's not even her best performance of the year. This woman is on job when it comes to acting. And I didn't know much about her. I watched her film that came out in 2014 that got the nomination for Best International Feature, the German film. And honestly, she should have won an Oscar for that performance. So it's love to see her getting some Western, when I say Western love, I mean UK, American cinema love. But The Zone of Interest is going to be, look, I think when it comes to Best International Feature, the UK are going to win. The UK are going to win. Yeah, Tony Erdmann, that's the film. Banger. UK are finally going to win a Best International Feature at the Oscars, because unfortunately, France decided to put something in over Anatomy of a Fall. And that is a fool's job, mate. Honestly. They done it in 2019 and didn't vote Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Those people that are picking the films for France are smoking some different level of crack, because Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Anatomy of a Fall probably would have won their respective years. But this year, Zone of Interest, Anatomy of a Fall, unbelievable cinema. And Perfect Days as well, Japan Century. Wow. International film this year is going to be an interesting one. But I do think Zone of Interest will take it. And it's been put in a load of predictions for Best Picture as well. Now we get 10 films. I think that makes sense. All right, cool. I've talked enough about that. When you watch a film like The Zone of Interest, you need something light-hearted to watch next. And I weren't going to watch this film, but the crowd around me were very insistent on me coming to watch this. And it was Chris Pine's directorial debut, Pool Man. This film was awful, but it was fantastic at the same time. And the reason why it's fantastic was I'd just come out of watching a harrowing film about the Holocaust and some atrocious things that happened in the past. And I just had my mind blown at a masterclass on filmmaking. And I wanted to watch something funny, something jargonish, something light-hearted. And Pool Man was definitely that. But I will say this, if I wasn't with the crowd I was with watching that film, it would probably get a faux rating of 1 star, 1.5. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. And that's just because every single person in my row was just cracking up the whole time. And laughing is infectious. And yeah, I had a very good time watching that film. If I watched it again, if I watched that film at home on my Jack Jones before seeing it, yeah, it'd probably be one of the weakest of the year. The acting was all over the place. The story and script was pretty shit, but it made me laugh. And sometimes that is all you need is a film that makes you laugh. Then, oh, no, it's not my last film of the festival. My second last film of the festival was a British film, How to Have Sex, directed by Molly Manning Walker in her directorial debut. She had been the cinematographer for Scrapper, the Charlotte Regan film that came out this year. How to Have Sex is a film which is obviously about a young teenage girl and her friends in Malia and their sexual experiences and kind of everything to do with consent, being forced, not forced, but feeling like you're expected to do the same things that your friends are doing sexually. And even though it was female led and female based and written by a female, there was a lot of things that I could resonate with as a male. And honestly, my first ever lads holiday was Malia. I was 60. Well, I was 15 when I got there. I turned 16 over there. And yeah, my first lads holiday. So I could resonate with a lot of stuff that was going on screen. And I thought it was very true. The costumes, the script, the speech, the slang, the twang, the Northerners, everything about that film, the reps, everything was authentic. It felt extremely British. After Sun is another one. After Sun last year for me just felt extremely British, even though it's set in a foreign country. It reminded me of those holidays that I went on as a kid. And this reminded me of holidays that I went on as an adult. Well, I say an adult, teenager. I was 15, 16, probably shouldn't have been abroad on my own. But that's what happened. I had a great time. I've been going on holidays ever since, and I'm still here. I didn't get kidnapped or anything, which is a plus. But no, the direction and the writing, magnificent. And the lead performance as well was fantastic. I think her name is Mia McKenna Bruce, but let me just double check that. How to Have Sex. Yeah, Mia McKenna Bruce. She is brilliant in the film. She says so much with her eyes. There's so much that she says without actually saying a word, and that is a sign of brilliant acting. Yes, we all love the Daniel Day-Lewis's "Drink My Milkshake." Like we love those kind of intense scenes, but honestly, it was definitely a brilliant performance and a brilliant film. The After Sun, directed by Molly Manning Walker. No, sorry, After Sun, Charlotte Wells. How to Have Sex, Molly Manning Walker. Then we had who directed? Oh, where's the other ones? Um, mm, mm, mm. Just trying to think of the other. There's a couple of other films that have come out. Rye Lane. What's the lady's name who directed Rye Lane? Another young British woman. Rain Allen Miller. She directed Rye Lane. Another brilliant, brilliant film. Scrapper, directed by Charlotte Regan. Look, there's been some unbelievable films over the past 24 months from female directors in the UK. It looks like cinema in the UK has been run by the ladies and gentlemen. Men, it's time for your time to step up because you are getting left in the dust with these newcomers. What's the other film? There's another film as well. I can't remember. Something Society. Damn, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I'm losing Polite Society. I think that was directed by a female as well. Ida Manzoor. And I believe that was her directorial debut as well. Was it not? Let me just check. Let me go on to our Wikipedia quickly. No, no, she's directed three. Yeah, it's a feature debut film, Polite Society. So look, some bangers have come out from the ladies. Yes, Geeky Goods, Polite Society, banging film, banging film. It had a lot of callbacks to some old British films. Bend It Like Beckham was extremely represented in that film. Extremely funny film. And look, I'm a big fan of martial arts films. That is my shit. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Lee, those are my guys. Scott Adkins at the moment, what a guy. Love the martial art films. Obviously, John Wick 4, kicking the shit out of people. Love to see it. All right. Next film I watched was not from the London Film Festival. It was, in fact, a film that I got sent to me. It was a screener, and that one was The Miracle Club, which is all about these women in Ireland who basically win a trip to Lords. It's not great. It is not great. The acting is fantastic from everyone involved. Maggie Smith is leading the line. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that one too much because it wasn't that great. Yeah, The Miracle Club. The next film I watched was a Amazon film, Polite Society. Not Polite Society. What am I talking about? I'm losing my mind. Totally Killer. Totally Killer, starring Kiernan Shipka, who was Sabrina the Teenage Witch in a Netflix adaptation. This film had elements that I really loved, and it had a lot of stuff going for it. One thing I didn't like was the constant, oh, you can't say that anymore. This is not PC. They kept on doing it. And it was like, we get it. We understand. You've gone back in time. Back in the 80s, people were saying and doing shit that is fucked up and should not happen. But the fact they kept on referencing it got a little bit annoying by the end of it. I liked the idea of the time travel. I thought it was done really well. It was a solid film from Amazon, and I think we'll probably end up getting a sequel. It seems like one of those films that would get a sequel. Sorry, just grabbing myself a can of Coke. Yes, a totally killer. Kiernan Shipka, I think she's a fantastic actress. And I really do hope she does some more films in the future because she's got the juice. She definitely has the juice to go far in the acting game. 100%. Then the next film I watched, one of my favorites of the festival, Poor Things by Yorgos Lathimos. Man, that guy has a weird mind that I just love to bits. This film, Emma Stone is going to get an Academy Award nomination, and she's one of my top 4 performances of the year for her performance. It's just so good. Mark Ruffalo, wow, that geezer is hilarious in this film. He definitely needs to do more comedy for sure. Definitely needs to do more comedy because he was killing it. And then the visuals of this film, it's a really quirky film. It's clearly in some alternate reality going on. So it's so it's a very unusual film. There's loads of things going on in the film that you don't notice on first viewing. I can't wait to watch this film again. I just love Yorgos's films, man. He's so original. And I know this is based on a book, but the originality of his filmmaking and just the choices he makes as a filmmaker, you just have to applaud that, man. You have to applaud that. My favorite Yorgos Lanthimos film is The Lobster. I know a lot of people dig Killing of the Sacred Deer, which also stars Barry Keoghan, who was in Saltburn that we were talking about earlier. But yeah, I felt the production design here. And before going into this film, I thought Barbie had production design wrapped up. Yeah. I thought it was going to go and run away with production design at the Oscars based on what I had seen. The Barbie dollhouse was fantastic. The cars, the real world, everything about that film screamed out Academy Award production design going to Barbie. But the production design on Poor Things, Jesus Christ, mate, that shit is unbelievable. The background feels like matte painting, so it's just so otherworldly, man. Between the performance of Emma Stone and the cinematography and the production design, this film just had such a sick vibe to it. One of my favorites of the festival and one of my favorite films of the year. Favorite films of the year. Uh, yeah, and then the next film that I watched at the festival was the last film of the festival, and it was The Kitchen. The Kitchen is a film co-written and co-directed by Daniel Kaluuya, and it is starring Kano. And let me get the name of the kid in the film as well, because I thought he was absolutely unbelievably good for a debut performance. I thought he was really, really good. Kano, honestly, from going from being one of the best UK rappers in the game to what he done in Top Boy to this, he's got a future in acting if he continues to do it. The film I thought had some really brilliant elements. It was basically about gentrification in neighborhoods in London, and as someone who lives in kind of a council estate area and has family in them areas, it's definitely still something that happens to this day. People being forced out of the areas they live in, building up all these new flats and kicking the locals out. So I could really connect with that. I did feel like there was two storylines going on at once that didn't quite mesh as well together as they could have. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the ambiguous ending. But it's a decent film. That one comes out on Netflix. It doesn't have a release date as of yet, but it's definitely one that people should check out. Winslow, a favorite noir film. Ooh, I don't know, man. I would probably say my favorite noir film would be Sunset Boulevard. I think, um, yeah, I think Sunset Boulevard would take the prize for that one. Take the prize for that one. All right, only a couple more films to go through, and then we'll get to some more questions and an update. So, I watched Saw X, the 10th film in the Saw series. I thought the premise and everything was really good. I didn't feel like the actions of Kramer kind of added up to what he does in the future films and what we've seen already from the character. The killings were decent enough. Was there anything which is going to be on like a top 10 Saw traps? No, I don't think so. Yeah, a couple of things just didn't add up. I like the fact it was set in a different place and kind of it made sense in the timeline, even though Amanda being in the film kind of takes away from number two. Yeah, I don't know, but it just didn't. It felt a little bit up and down Saw 10 or Saw X. And I think this is kind of where they should leave the series, man. I don't know how many. Spiral was dog shit. Don't even let me talk about Spiral. But I think they're done. And I get it. These films churn out, make money. Let's keep making them. Let's keep making them. But look, it is what it is. Then I watched, oh, Jesus. The next film I watched was Five Nights at Freddy's, a film which I have a review for on my YouTube channel. And it is a film which people have been commenting, oh my God, you didn't understand it. You need to play the games. Look, if I'm watching a film, I don't need to do homework. I shouldn't have to do homework. The story itself, it's not a sequel, it's not a requel, it's not a trilogy, it's not a prequel, it's the first film in a series. The information should be given to me. I shouldn't have to be working things out. And I thought the story was all over the place. The acting was okay if the film was separated into two. It was like they were doing different things. People were hamming it up, and then other people were going like they were trying to win Oscars. One was taking it deadly serious, one was kind of making it a laugh and joke. This video is not sponsored by Coca-Cola, by the way. The animatronics, unbelievably good. The set design of the Freddy's restaurant, superb. Superb. Such a good setting for the film. And honestly, I just wish they would have had the film all in that location. It would have been so much better if it was all filmed in that location. And yeah, a lot of negative comments on my YouTube review and on a lot of people's YouTube reviews, if I'm being perfectly honest. The fans are loving it. It's making a shit ton of money. And big up the director because she signed a deal where she got paid 500K and she's getting money on the back end. So she is going to be rolling in cash. Rolling in cash. She is going to be rolling in it. And look, I like seeing people make money. I didn't like the film, but look, I like seeing people make money. And if people are enjoying the film, fans of the game series, fair play. I wish all films had an audience. Just because I didn't like it, why does it mean that other people can't like it? And if everyone understood that people like different things, the world would be a different place. But Five Nights at Freddy's, not for me. And I definitely will not be checking out the sequel when it comes out because this PG-13 horror is not for me at all. All right. The best film of the year, which I watched last week, Anatomy of a Fall. Oh my God. This film is so sick. Anatomy of a Fall is so, so sick. I was engrossed with this film. It's all about a woman who is on trial for the killing of her husband. They live in some kind of chalet type house in France in the middle of nowhere. And the only person that was there was her and her husband and her son who had taken the dog out for a walk. So it was basically she either murdered her husband or he killed himself. And the court case is all about that. And there's two things in this film that make it what it is. It's the script and it's Sandra Hüll's performance. The way information is fed to the audience has you constantly guessing about what is going on and who did she kill him or was it a suicide? And the way the audiences drip the information is done so majestically by the filmmakers. So hats off to Justine Triet because damn, that takes a lot of effort, a lot of graft. And I really want to know if she did it. I will be having a discussion with firstshowing.net about this matter, and hopefully he can convince me because I do. Before writing my review, I didn't think she done it, but after writing my review, I do think she done it. So it's just one of those ones. But Sandra Hüller, her performance as well, mate, she's so good in this film. So good in this film. One of the best performances I've seen in a long, long while. Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall is how I felt about Kate Blanchett in Tar last year. Just easily the best performance of the year. And I love Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. Love Emma Stone in Poor Things. But if we're being serious here, and it does go to the film, the actress who deserves it, and the actress who should win it, that is Sandra Hüller. All right, the last film of the month was Pain Hustlers. Pain Hustlers. This film is based on a true story, and the true story is all about this company who deal in narcotics, and they were selling a drug, and this drug ended up killing loads of people, and you wouldn't know by the end of the film what was going on because it had a weird way about it. It felt like an Adam McKay film. It felt like it was a parody. And this is a true story about real life people that died. I wasn't a fan. Emily Blunt is way too good to be in a film like that. Emily Blunt doesn't need to be in films like that. Chris Evans not the biggest fan of Chris Evans. I think he's a decent actor, but even he doesn't deserve to be in trash like that. The only real saving grace for this one was the costume design. Well, Emily Blunt's costumes, anyway, in her power suits. Yeah, that was fantastic. And that is everything that I watched in the month of October. So, if anyone has any other questions for me, let me know and I will answer them. It can be in relation to the films I just discussed, London Film Festival, my favorite color, bloody hell, I do not care. We'll do that for. I'll wait and see what kind of, if we get any responses from the people that are watching the video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my letterbox and I'm going to let you guys know some of my least favorite films of the year. So while I wait to see if anyone wants to ask any questions, I will go on and I will get my ranking up for 2023, which we have 2 months left of. And honestly, I don't really know if anything else can crack my top 10, but my bottom 10, oh, that is always open. All right, list. Okay, so I'll give you my bottom 6 because that's the way it kind of lines up on Letterboxd. So the worst film I've seen this year so far is Unwelcome. When I mean this film is so bad, I don't I I just don't know how a film could be worse. It's one of those films you watch and you're like, at what point did any of this seem like a good idea? At what point during the filming, at what point during the editing, at what point during the release and the promotion did you think, oh, we've got it here on our hands? They must have hated filming that. It just, it's one of them films that it started really bad, and I'm like, I'll give it a chance. And I've never walking out of a movie in my life. I will watch until the end. I need to see the whole thing to make a proper judgment on it, right? Proper judgment on it, and honestly, it just got worse as every scene went by. Worse as every scene went by. My second least favorite film of the year is Foe, which I've spoken about already. Then we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Guys, I did not like this film. I did not like that film. Geekly Goods, I was talking about Unwelcome. Unwelcome. But Quantumania, the big bad, the next big bad of the MCU gets introduced, played by Jonathan Majors, Kang, yeah? I'm expecting big things. I'm expecting a big boss type character, right? Someone with some real gravitas. Thanos was just a beast of an antagonist, right? Built up through films and films and films and films. But Jonathan Majors' character, and now it's a shambles with all that domestic violence stuff as well. But he got, the CGI was so shit. It was abysmal. The story was all over the place. The acting was all over the place. And I actually liked the first two Ant-Man films. So it's not a case of I don't like the characters. I actually do like the characters. But I feel like they took away from what made these films fun. Where was his friends? Like the gang. They were one of the best parts of the previous films. Just weren't in the film at all. Instead, he was with some new guys, and the next big bad of the MCU got taken out by ants. Ants. How are we meant to respect this guy as a villain? Doesn't make any sense, honestly. Not the movie to introduce Kang at all. And yeah, I've just lost all interest of the MCU and seeing all these articles come out. And I feel bad. You know, I feel bad for. I feel bad for two people, Brie Larson and Nia DaCosta. Yeah, because Brie Larson has done nothing wrong in her performance as Captain Marvel. I really liked the first Captain Marvel. I'm of the small contingent that loves that film, right? But Damn, that is not it's not looking good for the Marvels. And I have a few ideas of why that is. One, the two characters that are joining Captain Marvel in the film and are the main characters were introduced in TV shows. And I know from experience of friends and family, they don't watch the TV shows. They continue on from the films. So they don't know what's going on with Amelia Khan. Like, no one knows. So that's number one. Number two, why is it called The Marvels? Captain Marvel, the first film, made over £1 billion. I don't get that at all, to be perfectly honest. And then, yeah, there is some misogyny there. Of course, there is. There is always going to be when it's a female led film, but that's not the main thing. And it's not something that should be highlighted the most. I just heard that Nia D'Acosta left 3 months before the film was finished. What is going on there? Director, I think she's fantastic. I didn't really like Candyman as a film, but the direction, no qualms with direction in that at all. Then Five Nights at Freddy's, awful film, spoken about that a moment ago. And then I'll give you my last least favorite film because I'm rambling on a bit. It would be Meg 2, The Trench. Again, the reason why this film is so bad for me is because shark films are, as kung fu films, shark films are my other subgenre that I just really love. And even the bad ones I love. But this film just completely sidelined the sharks and had more annoying human characters. Just did not care for that film at all. Meg. All right, let's look at a few of these questions then. If I could cast a movie actors in a project, who would I cast? He's retired, but I'd always cast Daniel Day-Lewis in anything. If I could make my own film, Daniel Day-Lewis would star in that film. I would write it for him. But seeing as he is not in the game no more, I would probably cast Daniel Kaluuya or Robert Pattinson. They are my two favorite actors working at the moment. And I think I would love to see a Robert Pattinson, Daniel Kaluuya, Jessica Chastain, and let's throw in Anne Hathaway. I think those four in a film, perfection. What did I think of the Wes Anderson shorts? I only watched one of the Wes Anderson shorts. No reason for that. I just haven't got round to watching them. I will eventually check out the other ones when I can. Yeah. Am I a fan of the Bond movies? I am a fan of the Bond movies, indeed. All the Bond movies. I've always been a fan of Bond, the character. As an Englishman, it is definitely a part of our culture. James Bond. I've always said if I won millions upon millions of pounds and the Euro Millions, I would buy an Aston Martin. It's not really who I am as a person, but just want to be James Bond for a day. I might just rent one actually, rather than buy one. What do I think of the Anne Hathaway Thomasin Mackenzie film coming up? I don't know what the name of that is off the top of my head, but let me go check because I know people did watch a film with Anne Hathaway at the film festival. So I will, yeah. Oh, with anything with Anne Hathaway, I'm really, really intrigued to watch. If I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, I love Thomasin Mackenzie as well. I think she's a really good actress. Eileen, yeah. So I had mixed things about Eileen out of the film festival. Cher Wigham's in the film as well. I'm a big fan of him. Who is it directed by? William Oldroyd. Yeah, so I heard mixed things about the film, but of course it's definitely one which I will look at when it comes out and definitely check out for sure. That's kind of where I'm at for sure. But yeah, Julianne Moore. I am a fan of Julianne Moore. I love her performance in Boogie Nights, which is one of my all-time favorite films. All right, cool. You can still ask any questions if you want, but I'm just going to give everyone, because again, it's YouTube. I don't know who's watching, who's listening, or who's going to watch this in the future when it goes up on the channel. So a general update. I'll be doing one of these every single month, probably on the first of every month, and running through my letterbox for the month. I will also kind of do a similar thing that we're doing now. It'll pretty much be what I've done today, hopefully a little bit more organized, because again, it's my first time doing a live, and what to expect and what to do is kind of a little bit alien to me. So these should get better as I go along. I used to make these letterbox videos where I run down what I watched, but I just found them boring. So I thought the live would be a good addition to my ever growing slate of stuff that I do. So if you're not aware, I have a podcast which releases every Tuesday with my good friend Manuel, MSB Reviews on Twitter, R&M, a conversation on cinema podcast. And in that, we talk about the films we seen during the previous week and also any TV shows that we would have seen as well. And yeah, it's just a good discussion to film fanatics who met a couple of years ago. He currently lives in Sweden, but is Portuguese, and we don't always have the same opinion. So it's always a good conversation. And that's what I love, talking about films with people and trying to work out why people like films. Because there's always different reasons. We all have different lives and we all experience things in different ways. So what he likes, I might not like, and vice versa. And it's nice to have a discussion about a film because it allows me to take it in a little bit more. It allows me to understand the film a little bit better sometimes. And it's definitely something which I've enjoyed doing. We started that in January. So if you haven't checked that out, go and check that out for sure. And then I have another podcast called the Cinematique Podcast, which was coming out every Monday. I've had a little bit of a break due to working out guests and trying to update the scheme of the interview. But a new episode will be coming out on Monday. And yeah, so what I do in that podcast is I speak to people that work within the film industry, anything related to film. So it could be podcasters, it could be YouTubers, it could be directors, actors, publicists, no matter what it is. Try and work out what they do, how they got into doing what they're doing, what their plans are for the future, any tips that we can give to people that want to start out, because it is daunting. There's so many people that want to be directors, be actors, be publicists, want to be content creators, right? And I think people need to have the information to hand to do that. So the two podcasts are R&M, a conversation on cinema with Manuel, which comes out every Tuesday, and a Cinematique podcast, which will be coming out again pretty much every Monday. Um, the best thing to do is to follow me on Twitter at Rio's Positive POV, exactly the same as the YouTube channel. And what that has is a link tree, which you can go to the two podcast, this YouTube channel, of course, my Twitter, my Instagram, my IMD page from when I used to be an actor. So you can have a butcher's at what TV programs I've been in before and stuff like that. And then also there is a link for the Cinematique. And the Cinematique is a website that I run with someone called Ben. And the Cinematique is a website which is geared towards giving voices a chance. So any people that are interested in writing about film, hit me up. We are always looking at new articles to put on the site. I predominantly write all the reviews for the site myself. I'm the senior writer there, but we're always looking for people to write for the site, and I can't cover absolutely everything. I just don't have the time in the day to do that. So hit me up if you want to do some writing and we can see what we can do. And then of course, finally, this YouTube channel. The lives will be happening every month. And I have videos coming out for Anatomy of a Fall, a review, The Zone of Interest, a review, The Boy and the Heron review. I'm going to hold back until December until the film is about to come out in the UK. And then I think I've probably got another couple of reviews up my sleeve from the London Film Festival. So that is the update of what I'm currently doing. You can find me on Twitter talking nonsense on a daily basis in relation to film. And yeah, that is basically it. So what have we got? Any other questions here? Favorite guilty pleasure films? Man, I hate to say guilty pleasure films because I love all films equally, right? But I think a film that probably people wouldn't expect me to love is The Devil Wears Prada. Pardon me. The Devil Wears Prada is probably my guilty pleasure film. I absolutely love that film. Meryl Streep, Queen Meryl Streep, the GOAT Meryl Streep. Yep, The Devil Wears Prada would probably be my guilty pleasure film. If anyone has any other questions, do let me know because I pretty much said and done what I wanted to do on this live chat. It's been fun. It's been a learning experience, and hopefully next month's one will be a little bit better. Um, yeah, so basically that's it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I appreciate the love. Anyone who spent any time on the video, big up yourselves. And I'll be back with some more videos soonish and another live stream in a month. Until then, peace out.